Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, July 16th to Saturday, July 22nd. So last week was a little bit bumpy. Of course, we started off the week with the last quarter moon in Aries energy. That should have been our first indication that things were going to get hot, things were going to get spicy, things were going to get a little bit frustrating. That last quarter moon in that Aries energy, of course, was wrapping up this last lunar cycle as we prepare to move into the new moon in Cancer energy. And of course, in true Aries fashion, we were all very quick to shut the door, to just kind of turn our back, turn our heads on the things that we no longer want to deal with, no longer want to tolerate. However, it's been a little bit of a push and pull trying to actually detach from some of these things as we're coming to an end of a purge of a releasing cycle. We'll talk about that in just a second. Of course, that took place on the 9th. About 24 hours later, we had Mars, who rules over that Aries energy, move into Virgo energy on the 10th. Well, this definitely put a little bit of a different vibe out there because as much as we want to take action, as much as we want to make moves and assert ourselves going after new paths, new directions, new passions, the Virgo energy is just like, hold up, we have some things to think about. We have to think of the plan, of the strategy, of all of the freaking details, to all of the possible scenarios and all of the variables within those scenarios before we can do anything. So this is creating a little bit of frustration, mostly because there is this impulse, this intensity to kind of pick up and go and push ourselves to do what needs to be done. The Virgo energy, of course, wants to solve the problems, wants us to really get down to what needs our attention first and foremost. And of course, the tension between Mars wanting to push forward, take a risk, take an action, and deal with the consequences later is not in the Virgo's realm of existence. We have to think everything through very carefully. We have to think about it probably 3 times over, think of all the different ways that it could go before we're going to engage in taking action. And the greatest lesson that we're having at this particular point is about energy management, realizing who and what is worthy of our energy, deserving of our energy, but of course, where it is that we cannot be wasting our energy, we actually desire to reach the end goal. So that means that we kind of have to pull it back, be patient, which none of us are, and really wait for that ideal timing on the universe to basically say, yep, you've strategized, yep, you've thought of it, yep, the details are put in place, let's go ahead, let's take a baby step forward. So that's a totally different vibe that we're currently sitting in and working with. And then 24 hours after that, on the 11th, we had Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves, move into the heart and soul of the zodiac, which is the Leo energy. Suddenly, we are tapping into our inner child. Suddenly, we are recognizing who is actually leading us in this new path. Is it our higher self? Is it our inner child? Or is it our ego avatar? We are here to be a unique individual in this Leo energy. We're here to express ourselves in our uniqueness. But right now, the mind space is just conjuring up all of these big ideas, all of these big dreams. We want to take action. We want to make moves. But Mars in Virgo over there is like, listen, that plan is really good. But until you sit down and think of the highs and lows and the everything in between, we are not making a move on a damn thing. So what are we doing? We're kind of sitting with it. And what is this doing? It's building up the restlessness, the edginess in us. It's really putting us in a situation where there's a lot of intense thoughts and feelings coming up that we just don't know what to do with. And that energy bouncing around is definitely creating a sense of restlessness, a sense of anxiety, a sense of anticipation. And we're just kind of feeling those ants in our pants. Of course, this week is the week that we are going to feel a lot of change, a lot of shift. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be bad, but any time that we are closing out a cycle and we're about to enter into a new one, there's always a squeeze. There's always a pressure. There's always an intensity. What am I talking about, you may ask? Well, we just experienced the very last week of the last 18-month karmic cycle that we've been in. And we know this because I'm talking about the nodes of the moon. We've been in the Taurus and Scorpio axis of our karmic life lessons as a collective. And of course, it appears differently in our individual lives according to our individual charts. But the nodes of the moon are shifting, guys. We are closing out an 18-month chapter. We are about to open up a brand new 18-month chapter, this time on the Aries and Libran axis. I might do a little bit of a mini rant here, but let me just also say that I put out the 2023 energy forecast at the beginning of this year. I broke it up into small, manageable little videos according to the month that we are in. Please go ahead, take a look at whatever part July is. I think it's part 3, in order to kind of understand the major astrology, especially with the nodes of the moon shifting. This is going to kind of paint the picture why it is that we're at the end of our rope, why it is that we're exhausted, why it is that we're not seeing the forest past the trees. This is a squeeze. This is an intensity for us to wrap up the last 18 months of what it is that we were supposed to learn. And again, the Taurus energy that the North Node is in is showing us what it is that we have to build, what it is that we have to create, what it is that we have to bring to life, especially where new levels of self-worth, self-confidence are concerned, where our routines are concerned, our physical realms, our physical environment, our physical bodies, our routines, our money matters, our resources. And of course, what we were being pressurized to let go of is that Scorpio energy, that shadow realm of self, the pain and trauma, the fixation of holding on to the old just because it is comfortable and familiar, even though it is still leaving very, very deep wounds and voids within us, in order to continue to hold on to what was instead of let go and now focus on creating what it is that we desire to create. There's been a lot of life lessons in this Taurus and Scorpio energy. The Scorpio energy is death, destruction, collapse, in order for there to be a space to resurrect ourselves, renew ourselves, rebirth ourselves. That is where true transformation is taking place. And of course, the more space that we've created, especially in our emotional realm, by letting go of some of the pain and trauma, letting go of some of the people, possessions, things, ideas, jobs, careers that were essentially creating these heavier, lower vibrational frequencies within us, because we feel stuck, because we feel like we are just repeating the same old pain and trauma over again. The more space that we kind of created, the more opportunity we had to build something beautiful in its place. And that's really where we lent our time and energy to this Taurus energy, building ourselves up, stabilizing the good, really anchoring in the new foundations of the things that we want to be building towards. So, where there was this kind of give and take, this death and this birth, this destruction, this creation, this is what's been going on for the last 18 months. And now we're wrapping up the very final days of this. And I'm going to start talking about this week here in a second, but just know, as I'm coming to you Friday evening, if you're with me in the chat, first of all, thanks for being here. But secondly, we literally only have like 3 days left of this last 18-month chapter in this Taurus and Scorpio energy. We'll be moving into the Aries and Libran axis. So the North Node is essentially moving into the Aries energy. That's the path that we have to get on. That's what we have to build into. That's what we have to embody. And what we have to let go of, what we have to kind of release and purge, is the Libran energy. What does this mean? Well, collectively speaking, this means that we are all moving into our selfish era. We have to. We've been going through this re-identity process, this rebranding process. Now it's time for us to solidify who it is that we currently are, who it is that we're striving to become. We need to take the leadership role. We have to identify new passion areas, new desires. We have to put ourselves first. And therefore, the masculine divine energy is going to be triggered in each and every single one of us. Why is that? Well, because Mars rules over the Aries energy. Mars ruled over the Scorpio energy that we were looking to let go of, we were looking to release. That's why we've been dealing with the whole quote unquote toxic masculinity topic and theme over the last couple of years. That's why with the Taurus North Node that we just had for the last 18 months, Venus being the ruler of that Taurus energy, that's why the feminine divine energy was having the major focus. We needed to really kind of boss up in our feminine energy, all of us. This has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with anything other than every single one of us having a very different chemistry of masculine and feminine energies within us. We all have a little bit of the toxic masculine and feminine. We all have the healthy masculine and feminine. And collectively speaking, we are now working towards a different goal. So what's interesting is that the roles have changed. Venus, who was kind of leading the path into the future with the North Node in Taurus, is now the ruler of the South Node, the Libran energy that we have to get rid of. Why do we have to get rid of it? Well, because the Libran energy, first of all, is a little bit shallow. We want to be happy. We want to be kind of, bubbly. We want to be surface level, let's say, joyful. Okay. But the true absolute fact of the matter is that the Libran energy is sacrificing. It is people pleasing. It is constantly dimming one's light in order to be accepted by the people around us. It is constantly compromising and negotiating within ourselves in order to give the other people in our world the power. So suddenly, where we were Venus driven and looking to release our toxic Mars energy, now Mars is leading the charge. He's leading us on a path of re-identifying who it is that we are in this world, our ego avatars. And in this process, Venus is now what we have to let go of in this Libran energy. Yes, there is a balance. It's always about balance. But collectively speaking, we are going through an aggressive period over the next 18 months for doing what is right for us. We have to stop dimming our own light. We have to stop playing small. We have to stop letting other people be the starring role of the movie in which is us. And it is definitely going to be a major shift that all of us are going to feel. If you are in Aries or Libra or have strong Aries or Libran placements, this is definitely going to trigger you in a much different way. That's why it's important to understand how the nodes of the moon actually affect your chart. If you want to do a deep dive in this, jump over to Patreon. I've already done many classes about the true node, about what all the nodes mean in different places of the chart and different zodiac signs and different area of the houses. And we specifically talked about this Aries and Libran energy. And so, it's going to be undeniable. And the thing that is even more bewildering is it takes place within hours of the new moon in Cancer. So all of this is happening on the 17th. And the moon is in its rulership in Cancer. So any moon event that we have in Cancer energy is like a moon on steroids. And the new moon in Cancer is, I'm going to say, an additional pivot point to the full moon in Capricorn that we just had that acted as the major pivot point. If you'll think back just a couple of weeks ago, that's where the power struggles were illuminated. That's where the control issues were illuminated. That's when we recognized whether the long-term goals that we've been actively fighting for, whether or not we're still in alignment with them. It illuminated where the obstacles and challenges are. And in that awareness, we should have realized where it is that we have to get back to the basics, our basic needs, our basic wants, needs, and desires when it comes to our emotional values, when it comes to our home, when it comes to our family dynamic. We have had boundaries tested, especially where our health has been concerned. We'll talk about that here in a second. And so the new moon in Cancer energy is asking for us to build a different foundation than the one that we were currently operating on. The fact that this is happening in tandem with the nodes of the moon shifting into this new energy for the next 18 months is going to absolutely reveal where the major shift in our lives, in our circumstances, in our storyline, in our soul contracts is taking place. And even more than that, we have all of these energies pinging off with Pluto, who was retrograde in this Capricorn energy, the great transformer himself, who's really pushing us to boss up to a new level of power and control over ourselves, over our thoughts, over our energy, over our action, over our ability to change our circumstances when we recognize that they're no longer in alignment with what it is that we want to pursue. So we have a lot going on this week. We covered the nodes, we covered the new moon in Cancer. This is the last week that Venus will be direct because she's going to go retrograde in the heart and soul of the zodiac in this Leo energy on the 22nd, hours before the sun moves into Leo season. So yes, this means that this is also the last week of Cancer season, which many of us are going to be very happy to have behind us because the feels have been a little bit much. The boundaries being tested have been a little bit much. The illnesses, the energy illnesses, the physical illnesses, the mental health illnesses, all of the illness has been a little bit much. We haven't been feeling good. We want to feel good. And many of us will start seeing a little bit more vitality come back into the realm of our experiences once the sun enters into his rulership in Leo energy. But first, we got to get there. We got to get through this week. It is going to be a major week. I can't express this enough. And if you're saying, well, geez, it seems like every week is a major week. Every week is a bumpy week. Every week is an energetic shit show. You are right, my friend. We have finally reached the precipice of this ever-changing earth plane, and the back-to-back energies, the back-to-back shifts, the back-to-back push for our evolution in our spiritual path is not going to stop. Okay, the years previous to this are mild in comparison to what it is that we're going to be experiencing from now, I'm going to say, until at least 2028. And there's good reason for that. You can factor in the great solar flash. You can factor in Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries energy. You can factor in, Uranus's whole transition of pushing us into a revolution, into a rebellion. You can factor in Pluto, who is finally going to enter into Aquarius energy and kind of kick this age of Aquarius off permanently here in November of 2024. But let me just say that we're in a time in which we are kind of closing the door on this chapter that got us here, which was about survival. And we are going to go through a very weird phase of transition, of transformation, in order for us to understand what it is to thrive. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting time. I'm grateful that we're all in this together. Grateful that we have each other to lean on and to validate our experiences, because it is going to be a wackadoodle time. So we're all up for the challenge. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And we're just going to keep trucking on through because we were built for this. We've been training for this our whole friggin' lifetimes. Okay. So do not, I know sometimes we have to whine about it and just get that out of our system, but do not move into a resistant type of energy. It is better to roll than to be dragged. And we have some very powerful shifts that are really going to light a fire, not even just in our heart space, but under our ass to get things moving, to get things going. So before I jump into the Ascension symptoms this week, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being in the chat. I want to thank you for leaving little emojis under each of my videos, contributing to the overall, let's say, energy and effort of getting this algorithm to stop censoring me. I want to thank you so much for the love, for the likes, for the comments, for the shares, for all of the love and support that you show my way in all the many forms in which you do. And I just want to remind you that this is a beautiful community that we have built. Okay, so I want you to take a good look around in the chat, in the comment section. These are our people. And it is this little community that reassures many of us each and every single week that we are not cray-cray, that we are not alone. And that was my main purpose, my main mission here, is just to remind people that guess what? We're in this together. So I just wanted to start with a thank you. I also want to let you know that, I don't know, I mean, YouTube is always changing. And for a minute there, I thought the algorithm was like starting to be my friend again. But I think it was last week or the week before, I started talking about DARPA and CERN and HARP. And of course, they don't like all of those things. And so what I've noticed over this past week especially is that I'm not receiving the notifications to the comments, and the comments aren't even showing up in a timely fashion. As you may or may not know, I specifically sit down in the morning and in the evening to address every single comment that I get on every platform that I'm on. And I am just not getting notifications until like 4 or 5 days later. And so if you find that you have made a comment to me and you feel like you're being ignored, I am so super sorry. It is not my intention to ever make anyone feel unseen or unheard. But this algorithm, I don't know what they're doing, but now even on my like creator page, I can go into my notifications. It says that there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden tomorrow, there will be like 20 that have a date stamp of like 4 or 5 days ago. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I know we're in a time warp. I know technological devices are going through a glitchy type of, system thing again. But I just wanted to kind of make that a little bit of a public service announcement, if you will, because it really bothers me to know that somebody has taken the time and the energy to reach out and make a comment or, share their thoughts or what have you, and then to feel ignored. I absolutely hate that. And it does absolutely trigger all kinds of inner child things in me where I didn't feel seen and I didn't feel heard. And therefore, I want to make sure that I'm not making anyone feel the way that I felt in my upbringing. And that's why it bothers me so much to think that, y'all are just sitting here thinking that I'm not paying attention to you. That is definitely not the case. My sincere apologies. Your time, your energy is so freaking valuable. I appreciate it so much. And in no way am I just trying to dismiss the energy and time that you've taken to reach out to me. So eventually, I'm hoping that all the comments will show up as they should, as they happen. So I don't really know what's going on, but I just wanted to kind of make that known. So this is a pretty wacky time for all of us, with the energy shifts and what have you. I hate to continuously be a nag and constantly be plugging my content, but the zodiac forecasts are there to help you. I know that the zodiac forecasts are a little bit quote unquote general, but at the same time, they are pretty accurate enough to kind of give you a glimpse on why it is that you might be thinking and feeling certain ways around this particular time. So if you haven't downloaded your July energy forecast for your zodiac sign, for your rising sign, I definitely recommend you do that. And you can do that from my website, or you can jump over to Patreon and access all 12. It is very important that you understand why it is that you are currently feeling the intense energies that you are. And because we have some monumental astrology aspects going on here this month in particular, it would be highly advisable that you stay ahead of the game. The e-guides are there for you. Of course, we're almost in, the time in the season where the new e-guide for Leo season will be coming out over this next week. But the Cancer season e-guide is still very active. Like I said, we have the true nodes of the moon shifting. We have the new moon in Cancer. We have Venus going retrograde, and all of that still happens in Cancer season. So those e-guides are available to you as well. And talking about guides, of course, with the new moon in Cancer just days away, you can expect the new moon in Cancer moon guide to be available for download. I'm hoping either the end of today, if not beginning of tomorrow. So definitely look out for that. And again, you can find that on my website, or you can become a Patreon subscriber and gain access to all of the content that I put out there. So that is all of the homework that I want to cover, because I feel like we need to dive into these ascension symptoms and really, really just kind of start ticking off all the boxes. It's funny, you know, I had a beautiful soul reach out, kind of naming off all of the ascension symptoms that they were experiencing from last week's forecast. And I kind of made the comment like, geez, we should really start like Ascension bingo and see, you know, how many of us could actually win at Ascension bingo, kind of ticking off all the boxes of all of the Ascension symptoms that are popping off in our physical bodies due to all of these energetic light codes coming in. And I, for one, I haven't been feeling good. And, you know, if you're over on my Patreon, you would know that I had to kind of wave the white flag there on Wednesday. I just could not push through in order to get you know, the content that I promise for either the Astro class or the rant. I can't even remember what week we're on and what I was promising to deliver, but I couldn't push through. I couldn't do it. So I waved my white flag there on Wednesday, and I am so grateful to have the love and support of you beautiful people, because you all are just so patient and understanding that you really kind of make a girl feel good for putting yourself first. So I want to thank you for that. But it's been a tough energy. And so I want to talk about this. Like, let me just say, there are different levels of ick this week. Okay. So you have some people just feeling kind of blah, just like meh, blah. You have other people who are like, oh, I kind of feel gross. I don't know what feels gross, but I really don't feel good. It just like feels like something's going on here. Then you have people who are like, you know what? I'm getting a cold, or I'm getting a flu, or like I'm sick with something. Like it just doesn't feel right. And then you have people who are just like, on the couch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm tired of guessing. I feel like crap. Nothing feels right. It's gross and I'm just done. I just want this to be over. So there is a lot of reasoning on why there are variations of the ick that we're all experiencing here this week. And a lot of that is just where it is that we're at on our own personal healing journey, how it is that we're receiving the new light codes coming in, especially over this last week. Of course, the 777 portal and the Sirius portal, that did bring a lot of new light codes in, a lot of information in, and our physical bodies are just kind of going through it. And of course, the more energy that comes in, the more information that we are kind of set out to receive, the slower our physical bodies have to be in order for those light codes to actually like be able to penetrate the old light codes and kind of get the gunk out of there in order for them to anchor in. So depending on where it is that you're at in your healing journey, depending, you know, where some of these energies are activating your birth chart, this is really going to kind of suggest how the level of ick you're feeling, the level of grossness that you're feeling. And I, especially since Wednesday for me personally, I just haven't been feeling good. I don't know what is wrong. I know that doing readings and a lot of my reading sessions these days are taking an extra little bit of chunk of energy out of me, definitely having a harder time coming out of those higher vibrations and settling back into my physical form. It hasn't been like this for about 15, 20 years for me. And what I've been noticing is that there's a lot of old circumstances, old symptoms, old illnesses, old, you know, injuries that are for some reason kind of getting popped up, flared up around this particular time. And you know, I think a lot of it is because the Cancer energy that we're in is about nurturing ourselves, is about like really kind of understanding where it is that we have to pull back for being so nurturing and caring with other people and really start giving ourselves that same kind of energy and attention. And I think that, you know, the Cancer energy just is amplifying the inflammation. It's amplifying, you know, the bloating. I feel like it is just, you know, we're in a water energy. It kind of feels like we're on a boat, like we're getting kind of seasick. You know, there's this dizziness, there's this swaying energy. You know, you're feeling clammy, you're cold, but yet you're sweating to death. And especially at night, like, I don't know who is even sleeping at night, let alone sleeping comfortably and peacefully. I wake up in a sweaty cocoon every freaking 3 hours, really. And it's just, we don't feel rested. We're exhausted. We're a little bit whiny. We're depressive because why wouldn't we be? We're all exhausted and we feel like crap. You know, old injuries and old illnesses coming back. You know, I have a client who reached out and said that, well, first of all, I'll start with a personal story. My brother, who had a eye injury like 22 years ago, he's been fine ever since. And over this past month, he had just a blip where he couldn't really see the way that he was normally seeing. Sure enough, went to the doctor and he was on the verge of a retinal detachment. So he's actually had an eye surgery, an emergency eye surgery. He's been literally laying down because he's not allowed to sit up. He's not allowed to move. He has to stay on one side of his body until, the healing has kind of taken hold. And, just right out of the blue, like just old illnesses that are coming back. I have a client who has, a lot of bowel issues that apparently were in remission for the last 20 years and suddenly are being triggered and activated again. There are people, I myself have a whole slew of health issues, and a lot of them are festering up within me. I can feel where I ripped the ligaments in my foot. I can feel the scar tissue in my abdomen. There is a lot of old coming back, and a lot of that is because cancer energy is so attached to the past. It's attached to generational trauma, to wounds, to pain and trauma, especially where the physical body and the emotional realm of our existence intertwine. And that's why we kind of do the shadow work, because when you can kind of address the emotions that get trapped and stored in our cellular memory and our physical bodies, when you can alleviate that, when you can process that, it means that, we're not going to be experiencing as heavy or as dramatic of some symptoms as some other people who haven't done that work will when they're going through this energetic evolution. And so, there's just a lot of old coming back. And that old is coming back at a prime time with all of these planets in a retrograde that has us reflecting back on the past and kind of reworking things and seeing things from a different set of eyes and making connections that we wouldn't have previously made, especially to some of the dis-ease or dysfunction in our physical bodies that we thought we were done with. And of course, all of this is just illuminating to us where it is that we have to kind of approach our health and wellness in a different way. We have Mars in Virgo right now. Virgo energy is about health and wellness where the physical body is concerned, where the mental health is concerned. And, we're actively going to be taking action, making moves, and building proper routines, systems, foundations for us to take care of ourselves in a better way. And so I just feel like the intensity is being kind of turned all the way up. The magnification of our pain and trauma and our dysfunction and our disease is turning all the way up so that we can, first of all, not ignore it. And second of all, really kind of say, okay, listen, maybe I have to go back to the basics of what I did when this injury first started and how I was kind of, taking care of myself at that particular point in time. Maybe I need to go back to the basics, or maybe what I've been doing just isn't working anymore. And because I've reached a new level in my life and in my experiences, maybe I need a new approach on how it is that I'm going to take care of myself and address some of these health concerns. So, just talking about the Ascension symptoms, like many of us are having this low-grade fever, which is putting us in a situation like, oh my goodness, maybe this isn't Ascension symptoms. Maybe this is a cold or a flu. Maybe I did catch something. You can still have a low-grade fever with Ascension symptoms. And most times, most often than not, it is energetic. It is an energetic shift that kind of triggers this. And again, when the energy is high, when the information is potent, when the light codes are plentiful, our physical body needs to be demobilized. We need rest. We almost need to get sick in order for us to slow down, because we've become a hustle culture where it's not okay to rest. It's not okay to lay around. It's not okay to be sick. You're constantly being advised to push through it, or to take some pills and to take some meds and to push through it. This is not the new earth that we're trying to create. We have to listen to our physical bodies. This is the machine. This is the temple. This is the vessel that our spirit, our soul has basically been gifted with. And we have some very potent energies coming at us at this particular time that requires us to bring this vehicle in for a little bit of a maintenance. And I think that when many of us start treating ourselves like we do vehicles, and I would say for the most of the population that actually values their vehicles, because I've seen some of y'all's vehicles and I just don't know. And I've been victim of that. I used to, especially in my teenage years, early 20s, my car was just trashed all the time. It didn't look nice. It had garbage in it, dog fur everywhere, little bits and remnants of like whatever it was that I'd been doing at the time. As I've kind of grown older and become a little bit more mature, I now take much better care of my car, of my vehicle. I want it to last longer. I want it to look nice. I want it to be presentable. I don't want it to be a mobile trash can anymore. And maybe that just comes with age, I don't know, but what I'm saying is that there is a large population that really takes very good care of their vehicles, take very good care of their possessions, take very good care of their home. But when it comes to their physical body, when it comes to their emotional body, their mental body, their spiritual body, they drop the ball. And I think we really need to kind of refocus on the fact that these physical bodies of ours, they are machines. And we take these machines for granted. And we don't even take these machines in for maintenance. Until something's broken, until something jeopardizes our experience, we pay no mind to what our physical body is going through. And I think that especially now where we are kind of seeing the changing of the karma, the changing of the life lessons, the changing of the energy that we are essentially every single day building new earth out of, we really need to kind of focus our time, our energy on taking better care of ourselves. And I think Cancer season is really amplifying that. But again, in the most tough love life way that we possibly could, which is putting the pressure on us, making us feel like crap, really having us deal with old injuries and old illnesses so that we can pay better attention to what needs more attention when our physical body is concerned. So you may be feeling that tension build up in the neck. And again, our neck kind of is let's call it the bridge from our crown, our third eye, from our upper cerebral unit of our head space down to the Jacob's ladder, 33 vertebrae of the spine. That's where the Kundalini energy rises and falls. And a lot of the time when we have like neck stiffness or we just, pain in the neck, first of all, I want you to, relax your shoulders, because half of the reason of why we feel that tension in our neck is because we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. We're clenching our jaw. We don't even understand how rigid and verklempt our physical body actually is. And so it is a very good practice to definitely pay attention to where it is that you need to relax those particular muscles and address some of the mental and emotional weight that, is being carried on your shoulders, energetically speaking. So when we kind of have pain and discomfort in our physical bodies, we have to understand that pain is the messenger that something isn't right in our auric field, in our energetic field. Yes, it's being manifested in the physical body, but that's because we didn't pay attention to it when the subtle energies were trying to send us, the more gentler messages to pay attention to this thing. But you best believe pain and discomfort gets our attention every single time and puts us in a situation where we are more open to try things that we wouldn't normally try, all under the hope, if you will, to remove the pain, to remove the discomfort. That's why many of us have started kind of, this spiritual journey out of illness, out of pain. A healing crisis is one of the number one ways for awakening to even happen. And it is kind of putting the focus on the fact that we need to feel worthy and deserving enough to feel like to do what we have to do to not feel the pain. Many of us are walking around with a state of dis-ease and illness and pain and discomfort due to the emotional pain and trauma that we've experienced. in our younger years that we haven't dealt with, that we haven't processed. And this is where the ascension symptoms come into play, because we're on a healing journey, but if you're not doing the work to address the mind, the body, the soul as an integrative approach, and you're only dealing on, let's say, the spiritual aspect, or you're just dealing with the physical body, let's say, like, there are people out there that hit the gym and have a pristine looking machine, but their mental health sucks, their emotional realm just absolutely sucks, and they don't have a connection to the divine, to their higher self, to anything outside of the physical realm. And then you have other people who maybe don't hit the gym, but are constantly in talk therapy to address their mental and emotional health concerns. Well, that's great, but without the spiritual aspect and without the physical aspect, you're still not dealing with an integrated approach on how to actually heal the physical body, mind, body, and soul. So it's very important that we touch and scratch the surface on kind of creating a practice in our day-to-day that addresses the mind, the body, the soul, so that we can kind of move through this healing journey and address all parts of self, because that's really how we stand in our truest form of power, is when we're kind of open and addressing and healing and transforming every part of self, mind, body, and soul. So the neck is definitely stiff. It's definitely holding a lot of weight. Again, just realize what it is that you're kind of carrying on your shoulders. Of course, this is going to amplify, magnify, intensify the head congestion. Now, a lot of people over this past week were talking about like allergies and sneezing and coughing and sore throats and cold and, all this kind of stuff. But as I kind of touched on last week, this is a lesson in breath work. So we've been going through a recalibration of our physical body, of our mind, of our soul, of our spirit. And that means that our breath is also changing. And, we have a lot of physical symptoms that come up in order for us to realize that we need to do better when it comes to breath work. And that we have to take an integrative approach to that. It's not just about sitting here and, breathing in deep and then exhaling out. No, it's about aligning with the rhythm of your body. It's about understanding that bringing that air in and filling those lungs is bringing the energetic core of source into your body. It's prana, it's chi, it's whatever you want to call it. And then listening to that air. And I'm saying listening because it again, it's a sensory experience. Listening to that air be held into your physical body and feeling that releasing point that your physical body is asking you to do when you exhale, but also doing so in a rhythm that is aligning your thoughts, aligning your emotions, aligning your physical body with the breath in which you're taking in. So breath work isn't just about, breathe in, hold, exhale, especially if your mind isn't in it, especially if your heart isn't in it, especially if you're not listening to your body. Sometimes people bring too much air into their lungs and it hurts, and they're like almost are triggering a cough sensation within them. Well, why would you continue to do that to yourself? You're obviously missing the cues that you're not breathing in a rhythmic pattern to what it is that your mind and body and soul needs. Don't push it, right? We're not looking to break a lung here. What we're looking to do is to get into flow. The mind, the body, the soul, they all need to act in tandem. They all need to be working together. And breath work is the only thing that we actually have control over in this lifetime. So it would be very nice if we all just took a moment to appreciate the functioning that our bodies do without us even thinking about it. And again, breath work brings our awareness not only into the control that we have on whether we breathe or not, but the actual physical, emotional, and mental response to the practice in which we are sitting down in order to do. So a lot of the sneezing, a lot of the coughing, a lot of the allergy type of reactions is an indication that you need to get in alignment with your breath work. You need to really listen to your body. You need to get in a good mental space, a good emotional space, and really recognize the exchange that you are engaging in when you enter into breath work. So yes, the throat chakra. So people have been saying sore throats and clearing throats and having a hard time swallowing. I myself, I choke on my spit at least once a day. I think it's a normal thing just because I talk so much and I forget to breathe and swallow. I think that's like just a normal thing for me. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that this isn't a normal thing for, that have said that they've been choking on their spit. Like literally, like they're like, I don't know what happened. Like my body just forgot to like swallow, or my body forgot to take a breath. Like I'm not sure what that is. Well, it's because we're going through this recalibration. Like there's something out of alignment within you that you are, your body is asking for attention in order for you to address. And so, we do have to pay attention to the messages that our body is giving us. But a lot of the throat chakra activations are because Mercury is in this Leo energy. We do have a desire to express ourselves, to be seen, to be heard, but we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what we want to say. We don't know what we need to get off of our chest, but we know that there's something there. We just don't know what it is. So it's almost like we're choking back on this pressurized energy for us to get something out. What I will say to you, just scream, man. Get in your car and scream in the shower, scream in a pillow, scream on the top of your lungs in the middle of your driveway. I don't care where you do it. Just scream. Get it off of your chest. Get it out of your body. It doesn't need to be articulated. It doesn't need to be a happy scream or a sad scream. It just needs to be noise. And you need to activate that throat chakra. So if you're feeling a little bit of agitation in that throat space, scream and get it over with. You'll be shocked at how much better you feel, and you'll be shocked at how much clearer your mind gets on what it is that you actually want to get out of your body using words, using that expressive, communicative type of energy. So if you're just feeling like, there's something, can't put my finger on it, don't know what to say, don't know what to do, blah, 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 well, just scream. A lion doesn't walk around the jungle and go, I don't know what to say to the people of the jungle. I don't know what to tell the people of the jungle. I want them to know that I'm here. I want them to know that I still have something to say, but I don't know what it is that I want to say. No, a lion walks around and roars whenever the F he feels like it, okay? Just to remind people who is the king of this jungle. So let's all just tap into our inner lion, and let's just scream on the top of our lungs, and let's just remind anyone and anyone who it is that we are by a scream, okay? You have a vibration and a frequency that your voice carries. When you scream, you let that vibration and frequency out. When you let the vibration and frequency out, a response from the universe has to happen. So you don't need to put it into words. You don't even need to have a thought. You don't even need to have an objective. Just scream. Get it out. Listen to the resonance of your voice, of your scream, of your vibration, of your signature. Pay attention to the physical body, how it feels afterwards. Okay? Just scream. Get it out. Okay, so there's still a lot of head congestion. There's still a lot of, I'm going to say, little sporadic moving headaches. There's still a lot of itchiness taking place on the crown. And all of this is just because we're in a very highly potent gateway to kind of receive a lot of these light codes coming in. I know I mentioned this, but like, being on a boat and being kind of nauseous, that can come part and parcel with then being very hungry. You can be nauseous and hungry at the same time. You can also have heartburn and continue eating yourself into more heartburn. Those are all heart activations. We are going to be experiencing more and more heart activations, palpitations, gas bubbles, however it is that your heart chakra is manifesting in your physical body, the closer that we get to Venus going retrograde, which is on the 22nd. We are very slow moving at this particular point in time. We're in a water sign, guys. Have you ever tried to run underwater? You're going nowheres fast. Have you ever tried to just make very fast, sudden movements underwater? It ain't happening, right? You're slowed down for a reason. And again, another reason why we're slow moving is again, because we're receiving all of these light codes, all of these energies, and our physical body has to stay as still as possible in order for them to anchor in. So the slow movingness is probably going to continue into this week. you can definitely prepare for a major shift when the sun enters into his rulership when Leo season begins. And again, just a reminder, fire seasons always take place after water seasons to dry us up, to dry us off, to show us where it is that we need to close the door on that emotional realm and where it is that we have to take an initiative to start something new, to really kind of break away from the funk and to push ourselves into a brand new direction. And that's exactly what we're going to get when Leo season begins. We're having a lot of energy really built up in our lower extremities. And I don't know about y'all, but I have had restless leg syndrome for the past like 3 or 4 days. And it just feels like I want to like break out of my own body. And the restless leg syndrome thing is happening for a couple of reasons, mostly because we are in a state of non-action where the energy is building up in our inner realm, but yet we're not able to actually physically exert that energy out in the external realm. And so, you know, when we trap the energy or we don't give it a healthy outlet, it's got nowheres to go. It just bounces around. And, you know, I often use the analogy of like energy being like a pinball machine. And if you don't give it a direction, if you don't give it an outlet, it's just going to create a lot of restlessness, a lot of anxiety, a lot of just bouncy type of edgy energy in your body. And we're finding this with our legs. And again, a lot of it is because we are so close to just hitting the ground running, but we're not there yet. And so all of this energy is just too much to contain in our physical bodies. And so it ends up in, you know, these restless leg syndrome types of scenarios. We're also having hand and finger cramps. A lot of the leg issues, the foot issues, the hand, the finger issues are due to those particular chakras, the soul chakra and the palm chakras, being activated. And we're having a hard time activating them. We're having a hard time getting them in alignment. That's okay. It's a natural type of organic unfolding that we just have to be patient with the process. Now, there are these itchy, scratchy, bug bite type of things. I don't know, but I was laying in bed the other night and I kept scratching one spot. And just when I scratched that spot, it was like there was another spot that I had to scratch. And it was like this ever moving scratch and itchy that just moved all over my body. And I'm like, I can't be being bitten by bugs. Like, there's no bugs here. I literally got up, turned the lights on, pulled my covers back, and I'm like, is there any bugs in my bed? Because I feel like I'm getting like little tiny little bites on me. Now, disclaimer, there's no bugs. This is like an energetic kind of wave moving over you. It's almost like the electricity is becoming so potent that it does feel like something is making contact with our skin. It's not necessarily that. Most of the time, the energy is coming from the inside, even though we're perceiving it coming from the outside. But it's very much just like bouncing around and very triggering on the skin. And there has been skin eruptions. There have been these little, bumpies that, again, they're not bug bites. They're not ingrown hairs. They're not pimples. I don't know what they are. I was thinking maybe heat rash. I was thinking just indicators that there's some toxic energies looking to be released. We're not sure what they are, but they're real and they're moving. And they are moving on different areas of our body that's asking for our attention. So if you're experiencing this, please pay attention to what area of the body it seems to be most concentrated in, connected to the nearest energy center or chakra. Explore the emotional connection to that chakra and do some unpacking. So we also are having a really weird change in our spit. It's almost like that watery spit that you get just before you puke. And I know that's a beautiful experience that we've all had at one particular point in time, but it's really not helping with the overall nauseous feeling, I would say. And our spit, even though it's watery in consistency, it tastes funny. It's not the same. I don't know what's going on, but it tastes funny. Even when I, take a sip of all the things that I normally drink, everything tastes funny. Like, what's going on? Our taste buds are changing again. It would make sense because we are entering into new karmic chapters here. So it does have a huge impact on, how our body is going to be responding to the new energies. But nonetheless, our spit is weird. I want you to also just kind of pay attention to the fact that your vision will likely be very blurry this week. And that's a lot to do with the nodes shifting. And it's a lot to do with wanting to see the path forward, to see the plan, to see the strategy come into fruition so bad that we're almost having like a mirage. It's like we're out in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden, look at that water, look at that pond, look at that lake, smack dab in that desert. Is this real? We're kind of clearing our eyes. Nope, maybe it's not real. Yes, maybe it is. I don't know. But we're going through something where our sensory systems are changing yet again. And a lot of the light codes that came in through the Sirius Gateway, through the 777 portal, they definitely put us in a tailspin where now we are almost adjusting preemptively to the new energies that we're about to dive into. And a lot of this, guys, is definitely due to those nodes. So I'm just taking a look at my list. I think I have kind of covered everything that I was intending to cover. It is a very long list of some not so nice experiences for us to be kind of, full stop, full attention on in our physical bodies, but we're here to do the work, right? We are here to do the work. Yes, we are all going to gang together when we get to the other side, and we are all going to beat up each other's higher selves. I think that's only fair, because we're all sitting here just wondering, like, how dumb is my higher self for signing up for this crap? But we're here, we're doing it, we're in it, we're all up in it. So we may as well just keep pushing forward. So I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you for spending your time and your energy with all of us here in the chat. And if you're catching this on the replay, please drop me a line in the comments to let me know that you're here, to let me know that you're not alone in all this. And again, we just have to kind of remind ourselves that this is just part of this wild ass roller coaster ride that we decided to get on. I don't know why we all came to an amusement park when none of us wanted to get on the rides, but here we are, and we're on it together, and we're going to throw our hands up, and guess what? We are going to scream. That is your homework for this week, is to scream in some capacity and observe the energetic shift that takes place in your mental plane, in your emotional plane, in your physical body when you scream like the lion in which you are. And we are definitely going to be exercising that lion energy more and more when we move into Leo season. So thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for you. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for showing up for everybody. I'm sending you nothing but love, and we'll talk to you soon.